The Formula One hype train is only getting faster as Alpine have just made a 24% sale to an investment group including actors Ryan Reynolds, Rob McElhenney, and Michael B. Jordan. But what does this 24% sale actually mean, and what could it have in store for the Alpine team moving forwards? First and foremost, it has to be said that this is just a part sale and just of Alpine Racing Limited, which is the part of the team based in Enstone, so will have minimal effect on the engine facility in France. And as much as it would be great for Deadpool to invest all by himself, the purchase is split across many investors, including Otro Capital, Redbird Capital Partners, and Maximum Effort Investments. The 24% sale of Alpine, which equates to 200 million euros, doesn't actually come as much of a shock. The French team had already spoken last year, saying that they were seeking investment to help them catch up with the likes of Red Bull and Mercedes. Which is why Alpine CEO Laurent Rossi, after the purchase was made, told the team that the incremental revenue generated will in turn be reinvested into the team in order to further accelerate our mountain climber plan, aimed at catching up to the top teams in terms of state-of-the-art facilities and equipment. But we'll get to that in a moment. Because before we talk about what could happen to Alpine, we need to look at their other business decisions for context. This is the investment group's first look into Formula One, but many of the parties involved are already invested in other top-level sports, mainly football. Redbird Capital are the owners of Italian football giants AC Milan, Michael B. Jordan has a small stake in AFC Bournemouth, and of course, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney are co-chairmen of Welsh football team Wrexham, who recently got themselves promoted to the 4th tier of English football. Now, as a Formula One fan, something that excites me about those two in particular is following the acquisition of Wrexham, they produced a docu-series called Welcome to Wrexham, in which we got to see behind the scenes of the football club. Now, I know that we already have Drive to Survive, but a behind-the-scenes documentary of the inner workings at Alpine would be absolutely phenomenal. However, that is slightly less likely to happen because whilst the pair own Wrexham, they have a much smaller stake in Alpine and will not have a ridiculous amount of power behind the scenes, as Alex Shiner will actually be doing more of the day-to-day work as he will now sit on Alpine Racing's board of directors. What's more important than a documentary right now for the team in particular though is how they spend that 200 million euros, and despite Alpine being backed by Renault, one of the 3 biggest car brands in France, the Alpine Racing team based in Enstone has faced years of financial neglect and is nowhere near the level of facility seen at Mercedes, Red Bull, or even Aston Martin after their huge redesign. So whilst Rossi has said the people here, the people at Very know what they're doing, they're going to continue doing what they're doing, when talking about the new investors, he said they're going to help us boost our revenue, hospitality, sponsoring, licensing, merchandising, above and beyond what we had planned. The revenue being pumped into the team's facilities is a must. Renault have just often felt like they're using Formula One as a big marketing tool, and they're not really that bothered about challenging the big teams. Like, the Alpine branding is kind of a reflection of that. Rather than race under Renault, a prestigious name in Formula One with multiple championships, they'd rather race under the name of a niche French sports car, which has one modern model in the A110. It worries me that when discussing the 200 million euros, Rossi said a portion of that we will reinvest into facilities, into tools, and into equipment. If the Alpine owners, after all this talk recently about wanting to be where Aston Martin are and eventually challenging for titles, don't turn this investment into infrastructure, then it will only support those that feel like they're just using it as a marketing exercise with a race team attached to it, rather than being a race team with an actual ambition of fighting for championships. Let me know what you think. Will this give Alpine the boost so that rather than just picking up the occasional podium, they'll actually be able to break into the top teams more often and be fighting for possible wins and championships? Or is this also that we just get a Welcome to Alpine documentary? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments, and whilst you're down there, I've left a link in the description to my video on Aston Martin and how they could replace Lance Stroll if you were to ever be fired. So hit that link or click the link in the end card, and I'll see you there.